The Chicago Bulls' effort is big in question after a loss to the Indiana Pacers. We're going to talk about everything that went into that loss, plus Billy Donovan's coaching and the return of Passive P. All that and more on today's Locked On Bulls.
You are Locked On Bulls, your daily Chicago Bulls podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for tuning in to Locked On Bulls, member of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every single day. I'm Haize, host and creator of Chicago Bulls Central and Chicago Bears Central YouTube pages and podcasts. And today's episode is sponsored by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. With that said, let's talk about these terrible Chicago Bulls. Listen, back to reality in a lot of ways for the Bulls, right? The Bulls who are coming off 2 straight victories, both in comeback fashion, one on Derrick Rose night against the New York Knicks, the other against the San Antonio Spurs, led by a lot of the way by Kobe White and Zach LaVine and what they were able to do in that game. And in this game, the Chicago Bulls just came out in the first quarter and just were not only extremely flat, they were low energy. They had tons of turnovers. They finished the game with 18 turnovers in this game. And the Indiana Pacers, who have just been playing much better over basically the last 10, 15 games, just capitalized on every mistake that the Chicago Bulls made and used it to their advantage. And the Bulls just did not have an answer on how to battle back in regards to that by any stretch of the imagination. And it's really difficult when the Chicago Bulls, you know, when they shoot themselves in the foot, which they are so apt to do, unfortunately, at times. The Bulls just can't overcome it, man. And that's just what it became in this game very early on with this Bulls team. And you could just feel it, right? This was not a game where the Bulls had a ton of energy to start off this game. And the flat first half just continued, and it just snowballed, and it just snowballed until you get into the end of the first half where the Bulls are down by 19 points. And then initially in that third quarter, the Indiana Pacers came marching back as well, right? Now, I would say this, and I got to give the Bulls credit for their second half performance, specifically in that third quarter and that fourth quarter. They technically outscored the Pacers by, I think, 2 points overall in the second half of this game. But it just, at that point, it wasn't enough. It just wasn't enough for the Chicago Bulls to be able to come back and overcome it. Despite 31 points from Zach LaVine, 19 points from Kobe White, the team just made some bad basketball decisions. Nikola Vucevic only got 9 shots in this game, all 9 of those coming in the first half, right? And we'll get more on Billy Donovan's decision because as much as I gave him props in yesterday's episode, today is just more of the things that I have criticized about Billy Donovan just became louder and louder as this game went on. But outside of that, you know, the blame on Billy Donovan, one of the things that really doomed the Bulls in this game, points in the paint. 76 points in the paint that this team gave up. And they just kept attacking the Bulls. The Pacers only took 29 3-pointers in this game, whereas the Bulls took 35, and they both hit it at about a 34% clip, right? But the difference is that the Pacers shot 52% from the field overall in the game. The Bulls did end up shooting 51%, but that's because of their second half performance. And the Pacers just consistent. They attacked you in waves. 26 points from Pascal Siakam, 22 points from Thomas Bryant, 14 points from Andrew Nembhard, 16 points from Tyrese Halliburton, 12 points from Obi Toppin off the bench, 12 points from Jarace Walker, right? It's just those continued waves. And those are really when the Bulls really get at their worst. It's at their worst when it comes down to it. You cannot try to be in games against a team that's this close to you, right? It's this well matched up for you. Your one benefit that you've had all season long is your offense, the way you shoot three-pointers, your pace, and the Pacers can match you on every single one of those aspects, and they did tonight. And we saw the Chicago Bulls just not know how to adjust. They didn't know how to adjust. You know, it is what it is there. Shay says, I'm going to ask you the same question that I asked you in the mailbag. Has this season showed you what type of team that we have or who we're led by? Both. This is still the type of team that we have. It's not just, you can't blame this all just on Billy Donovan. Oh, but best believe I'm about to crack into a lot of Billy Donovan's decisions here in the second segment of the show. But no, this still is who this team is. This is a team that is not good defensively. This is the team that doesn't really have a great resolve. Right? I know a stat that came out earlier today with the Bulls being the only team 7-0 in games that are decided by 1 point with 30 seconds or less. I don't care about none of that. When you watch this team and the way that they perform, it's either luck, it's not skill, it's not coaching. And that's something that really hurts this team continually. This team rarely cuts to the basket, sloppy play, shooting like they're really like that. Well, I got to give the Bulls credit in this one. Only 35 3-pointers in this game. The Bulls did not this was not a game where the Bulls just spammed and button mashed 3-pointers. That's not what they did today, right? They attacked a lot more in the paint today than what they usually do, and they recognized early. It seemed like early on in this game, they realized we don't got the shots today. The 3-ball ain't falling. So we got to attack. And unfortunately, that seemingly played into the Pacers' hands. It's almost as if the Pacers coaches had them prepared and said, hey, if we can close out on their 3-point shots and they have a bad night shooting from 3, we know exactly what the game plan is because they got nothing else at that point in time. Take away their pace, take away their 3-point shots. What are you left with the Chicago Bulls? Hope. That's the rest of the system that the Bulls have. It's hope that or the thought process that everybody's going to get more and more involved. And, the Bulls it was, like I said, there was a lot of coaching decisions in this one that you look at and you just got to scratch your head at. But the players, also the execution, right? 18 turnovers in this game. 18 of them. That's just not going to cut it. It's not going to cut it. And shout out to Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine went 4 of 9 in the first half of this game. In the second half, he was 8 of 11 for 22 points in just the second half. He got to the free throw line 5 times in just the second half of this game. Zach was trying. He was trying to get something going for this team because we had nothing else going. Kobe White had a better second half than first half as well. He was 6 of 10 in the second half of this game, 2 of 7 in the first half. So he improved as well as the game went on. But overall, it's just there's a moment in this game, right, where I was thinking to myself, all right, this is where we start packing it in. THT came in. He was one of the players that helped lead on a run. And it seemed like, hey, the Bulls may get back into this. And then the starters came back out there. And the starters actually were giving worse effort than the players that were in there supposedly for garbage time. It was one of those nights. And unfortunately, the Bulls have too many of those nights. Really good teams don't have nights like this as consistently as what the Chicago Bulls do. Unfortunately, the Bulls, this is one of their consistent things, is that they are going to lack at execution. Teams are going to be able to dig in on them defensively, and the Bulls are not going to know how to adjust. And as long as that keeps happening, like, this Bulls team is going to have losses like this. Yeah, they're going to have some wins in that you see and you get excited about, and you're like, hey, this team can actually, they can win some basketball games. But then you're always going to get that reminder. You're always going to get that reminder, that pull back down to earth to remind you you're not like that. And that's what it comes down to, the Chicago Bulls. And it's a lot of things going on. I do think had we had Ayo Dosunmu in this game, he could have helped on some of the things with his switchability, those type of things. But I'm not willing to say that this is one of the losses that one player just changed it, because of how much went wrong for the Bulls in the first half of this game. It was so much that went wrong in the first half that it was just not realistic for the Chicago Bulls to be able to come and dig themselves out of it. And the way that they did, got to commend them, got to give some credit. They showed a lot more heart in the second half of this game. But that goes to show you, and I said this over on Central as well, why playing a full, complete 4 quarters of basketball is hugely important. If you're not playing a full 4 quarters of basketball, yeah, you can win some games. You can come back in some games. You can find and surprise some teams. But that's just a dangerous game to play as consistently as what the Chicago Bulls try to play. It's just so difficult to do that. And we can't keep trying to be the comeback kings, because it's eventually going to lead us in games like tonight where we just do not have enough down the stretch of the game. And keep in mind, we got some tough, after this home stretch that's coming up, we got a tough road stretch that's right around the corner that's going to be looking the Bulls in the face. And I, for one, Can't wait to see how the Bulls fare over that West Coast trip, because it's back like to the old circus trip days for my old Bulls fans that remember that. But next up, we're going to talk about some of the decisions that Billy Donovan made in this game that were just head scratching and disappointing. But first, we got to get to a message from a couple of our sponsors. And the first one, it's Game Time. I love going to live events, whether it's sports, music, theater, or comedy. One of my favorite memories was attending a concert last year, Nas concert. The energy and excitement were unforgettable. Now, Game Time has made it even easier to get tickets for your favorite events with their new feature, Game Time Picks. The feature filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Recently, I was looking for tickets for an upcoming concert using the Game Time app. With Game Time Picks, I found amazing deals and could even see the view from my seat before buying. The super deal was particularly impressive, offering a great seats at unbeatable prices. Plus, the app's all-in pricing shows you the total cost upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code, that's LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. Also got to talk to you guys about Rocket RX. Today's episode is brought to you by Rocket RX. If you're ready to boost your confidence and take control in the bedroom, Rocket RX has the solution. Imagine feeling more prepared and performing at your best. Rocket RX makes it simple and stress-free. And by the way, you guys can ask Whitney Mahorn. He's a faithful user of Rocket RX. Rocket RX offers FDA-approved treatments for erectile dysfunction at lower costs than branded alternatives. No more uncomfortable doctor visits or pharmacy trips. Everything is delivered straight to your door in discreet, plain packaging. With Rocket RX, you'll get trusted care from a real U.S. clinical team, complete with a quick 100% online consultation, and you could get your free prescription today. Visit rocketrx.com to get started. It only takes 2 minutes. Right now, our listeners can get 40% off your first order when you use code LOCKEDONNBA. That's rocketrx.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for 40% off your first offer. Terms and conditions do apply. Rocket RX, better sex made simple. More Locked On Bulls coming up next. All right, my Bulls fans, man. I want to thank you guys for tuning in and sticking with us through Locked On Bulls, especially after the games, because it can get a little bit late as we're on the stream after these games. So I appreciate all you guys' love and support getting through this. But with that said, man, I spent today's earlier part of the episode, right? I talked about how Billy Donovan deserved more credit for some things. Rebuilding the relationship with Zach LaVine, right? Actually talking about changing the pace, changing the bull shot profile, and those things actually happening, right? But today was one of those games where every single problem I have ever had about Billy Donovan was very evident. Wynn says, just as you gave Billy Donovan credit earlier today, Billy Donovan goes back to doing Billy Donovan things and continues being terrible, the horrible head coach he is. Yeah, this JDH, Billy's adjustments were horrible, silly rotations too. Why? In the year of our Lord, 2025, when we have a young player in Buzelis, when we have a guy like Julian Phillips, we have a guy like Dalen Terry, was Chris Duarte in the game in the first quarter, not even the first half. Chris Duarte played 14 minutes today. 14 minutes from a player that's just bad. That's bad. There was a play when Chris Duarte was out there. Josh Giddey had the ball at the top of the key. All Josh Giddey was doing is waiting for somebody to cut. Chris Duarte stuttered step, came back, and then by the time he moved, Thomas Bryant had moved over and sealed the paint. All Chris Duarte had to do was cut, and Josh Giddey was ready to catch him with a bounce pass. He was ready. Why did Chris Duarte play so many minutes in this game? Why? I'm not mad at the Julian Phillips getting off the bench before Buzelis. I'm not even necessarily mad at Buzelis only playing 13 minutes. But why? Why? Chris Duarte, 14 minutes. It makes no logical sense. Chris Duarte didn't bring anything in this game that the Chicago Bulls actually needed. Nothing. The THT 10 minutes. I don't care what nobody's going to say about him going 3 for 4 for 8 points. Most of those points came in a time period where we were supposed to be. It was supposed to be garbage time and the game was over with. Now, credit to THT as well. He helped put the Bulls in a position where Billy Donovan said, I might as well let me put the starters back out there. We may have a chance. But it's not like the Indiana Pacers were running some complex offense today. They got to the paint. They attacked the teeth of the paint. What are you doing? Every decision that Billy Donovan made today was bad. Every decision that he made today was bad. Every single decision. Between spicy Denzel Valentine, between when he set Kobe White at a period where Kobe White, make no mistake about it, had a very bad first half. But then when Kobe White started heating up in the second half of this game, he sat down for 2.5 minutes. Now, I get it. That could have been just to get him a break. Kobe White just said after the last game, hey, I get tired out there. Maybe that's the case. But when you look at your coaching and your coaching continues to hurt you, man, it's just crazy, man. When is the coach trade deadline? Hey, Brock, I have no idea, brother. I have no idea. None. And then one of the most glaring mistakes and one of the most glaring frustrations that head coach Billy Donovan did today, and I get it, for a while there, Vooch got banged up or whatever. You mean to tell me you couldn't run a single play for Nikola Vucevic in the second half of this game? Vooch played 8 minutes in the second half of this game. 8 minutes. 8 single-digit minutes. 8. And got 0 shots. Now, I'm going to put a little bit of that on Vooch as well. But I'm going to put a large part on that because of the coaching. I have no idea what's going on. And listen, Eco says, I thought we wanted to tank for a top 10 pick. With rotations like this, yes, this when you do things like Billy Donovan did today, it's hard to listen to him say, oh, nobody's told me nothing about tanking. But you played Chris Duarte 14 minutes? Brock, that joke is hilarious. I cannot read that on Locked On. Had you said that over on Central, I would have been able to read it. Can't do that on Locked On. That's hilarious. Hilarious, though. Gino in the building. Julian Phillips needs more time as well because he has the potential to be really good with his athleticism. I mean, listen, you need reps. Somebody described it, and I loved it. As this, somebody described it as the Bulls young players need XP, and I was just like, "Yep, that's it, that's it." And Julian Phillips is one of those guys, man. He is one of those guys. And again, maybe this is one of those games where I just cannot give Billy Donovan credit. Maybe I just need to stop talking positively about Billy Donovan. Maybe I just need to always talk bad about him. Because when I talk bad about him, he seems to coach a little bit better. Gotta have better games for Modest, Dalen, and Julian. Oh, for sure. Absolutely. But playing spicy Denzel Valentine as many minutes as he played today, it just really made no logical sense for the Chicago Bulls. And I don't know what this coaching staff was doing. It's almost as if, and somebody said this over on Central, I'm going to steal it here. It's almost as if somebody heard in the front office that Billy Donovan said, hey, nobody said anything about tanking to me. And they said, hey, Billy, we heard you. Yeah, so maybe you didn't get the memo, but yeah, we need you to make sure that things don't look good out there. Because this was just an ugly day. Ugly game. Very ugly game. I'm highly disappointed by the performance of this team today. Not that it means anything. It's not like I'm anybody, but I'm very disappointed by the performance of this team and the coaching for sure. So It is what it is when it comes down to it, man. But we're gonna have to go ahead and get into one more break. We're coming out of this, we're going to talk about the return of Passive P, because that is what I'll be calling him until further notice. But we got to get to the message from Ultimate GM. I want to take a moment to introduce you to the brand new mobile game that I'm really excited about, Ultimate Coach Basketball HC. If you ever dreamed of being a college basketball head coach, this is your chance to step into those shoes. In Ultimate College Basketball HC, you control every detail of your program, from recruiting players and hiring coaching staff to overseeing training camps, handling NIL deals, and managing scholarships, all in your hands. And when it comes to game time, you get to draw up offensive plays and set your strategy. The way you play won't just affect the current season, it will shape the future of your school's basketball program. It's a game that lets you feel the full weight of what it means to be a head coach and learn and lead your team to glory. Here's a special offer for Locked On NBA listeners. Use promo code Locked On CBB, all caps, inside the game store to get a free boost for your program. It's the perfect way to kickstart your coaching career. Download Ultimate Coaching Basketball HC. Just visit ultimatecbb.com or look it up in the App Store. Ultimate Coach Basketball HC. Begin your coaching legacy today. More Locked On Bulls coming up next. All right, y'all. Thank you guys for tuning in. I do want to remind you guys that Locked On Bulls does have a daily free newsletter. All you got to do is go to lockedondaily.com to sign up for that. By the way, if we make it to 12,000 subscribers to the Locked On newsletter, I will be giving away a free Derrick Rose jersey. I repeat, a free Derrick Rose jersey if we get to 1,200 subscribers to the newsletter. We sit right now at 853. We are in the top 10. As far as all the newsletters on Locked On, we are in the top 10, but we need to get to 1,200 to be in that top 5. You get us in the top 5, I'm giving away a Derrick Rose jersey. But one person's jersey who I could give away, but I'm sure nobody would want at this point, is one Patrick Williams, the florist, Passive P, whatever you want to call him. What the hell is going on with Patrick Williams? What the hell is going on? You know what it is? And this is on me. Every year, Patrick Williams has like a 10 to 12 game stretch where he looks like he's turning the corner. He's aggressive. He looks like he's locked in. He's starting to look like that player that can be a 3-and-D player for the Chicago Bulls. And then Patrick Williams falls off a cliff. So far in the month of December, keep in mind, in the month of December, for example, out of the games that Patrick Williams played, only 3 games did he not score at least double digits. Only 3 of those games. So far in the month of January, only playing 4 games, Patrick Williams is averaging 8 points on 44% shooting, 36% shooting from the field, 3 rebounds, 3.7 assists, right under a steal, right under a block per game. Now, though, in 30 minutes, that's not good production. Now, if he was coming off the bench, he could live with that a little bit more. But we're seeing the return of Passive P at the wrong time. And the question that I have for this team is, how much longer can we see Passive P until Passive P got to sit his passive ass down? That's the question that we have. It's listen, I get it. I get it. There are times where Patrick Williams looks good, right? There's times where he looks good. But how many times can you fall in love with flashes, right? It's like being in a relationship and you fall in love with the chick and it's just flashes. Gino, lockedondaily.com. It's right here, bro. It's in the bottom right of the screen you're looking at. Free daily newsletter, lockedondaily.com. Go there, sign up for Locked On Bulls newsletter. But Passive P is going to have to pass himself right on to the bench at some point. The one thing that I would love to see the Chicago Bulls do, if this is going to continue, is whether you got to trust Modest, whether it's Julian, whether the hell is Jalen Smith, and you get someone else. You got to get your stuff together. P. Will isn't going to get that many more opportunities. You're just not, right? And while you're 23 years old is Patrick Williams now? Is that what it is? 23 years old. Yes, you're still young, but you are in your 5th year in the league. 5th. Until Patrick Williams understands the consistent effort that's going to be needed to really perform at a high level in this league, it's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I agree with you 100% as well, Winton. Winton says, Patrick Williams ain't going anywhere anytime soon, not with how bad this defense is. That's a fact. That is an absolute fact. Do you think that people will end up coming off the bench before season's end? Listen, he gets benched every year, so I wouldn't be surprised if it happens. But P. Will got to be better. He has to be better. Yes, he means a lot to the Bulls defense. He means a lot to the defense. But he's just got to be a little bit better. But you guys can let me know how you feel down below. As always, that is my time for today. Make sure you guys are following the show at Locked On Bulls. You can follow me personally at CEO Haize if you choose to do so. Locked On Bulls is free and available on every podcasting app and platform of your choice, as well as YouTube, the Odyssey app, Amazon Fire TV. We are a member of the Locked On Podcast Network. We're your team every single day. Catch you guys tomorrow. Love you guys. Go Bulls. See Red. Peace.